My name is Chris Zirkle. This session's Partnering in the Process, Ethical AI Use with Writing. And I have my colleagues here with me. Again, my name is Chris Zirkle with the Southwestern area, and we have
Walt Tallman and
Wanda Hanley. We're both in the Western, so we're Region 1, technically.
And we asked everyone if you could, just a reminder, to mute your microphone. We'll be using your chat to introduce ourselves, such as your name, your role, school you're at, and also just if you're not sure what today is about, it's really about increasing awareness of artificial intelligence, and our goal is to provide different activities that are tailored to different grade levels, so you can use it as some opportunities for professional development.
Awesome. Thank you for starting us off there. And today's session in particular, we're going to be looking at some key AI literacy concepts and some principles that can help us to guide integration of AI in the writing process. And from those principles, then we're going to look at how to apply those principles at different stages and different levels of support throughout the writing process to construct protocols that students can use to ethically, responsibly, and effectively partner with the AI to make them better writers in the end. So with that in mind, you'll see several of these videos here. For ones that we don't watch, I wanted to keep those resources there for you to refer to later, but we're going to start with just a quick check on the what of what AI is, because just like any technology, it can be used for good or bad, and understanding the technology helps us to better control how that use happens and to guide our students in proper use. So AI literacy, as this video says, in fact, will help us gain control over the AI that's out there. It helps us to gain control of the narrative, to be more aware and more critical and understanding of what we're dealing with. So with that in mind, I want to call your attention to your own first impressions of AI. So with that in the chat, just take a minute really quickly to share a 6-word story that summarizes your current understanding of artificial intelligence. So 6 words that summarize your understanding of AI. For those just coming in, we're sharing a 6-word story that summarizes your understanding of artificial intelligence. Life-changing, help to save time, a tool to help with efficiency. Keep those coming. Just a couple more seconds to summarize your thoughts. And if you want to keep those coming as I continue to move forward here, I'll kind of share my own 6-word story, and that is critical consumption, prediction systems, and training data. So really keeping in mind that AI isn't literally doing thinking. It's not when it comes up with its products, that's not real cognitive work. What it's really doing is just predicting, given a start for a word and what we're asking it to do, what's the most likely thing that's going to be what we desire in what we've asked of it. So it's making predictions, and those predictions are based on all the training data that it was trained on as a system. So with that in mind, we have to be careful to consume the output of AI with a critical eye, looking for possible bias, looking for possible mistakes in what it puts out there. So there's that critical aspect of we can't just take it and let it do things for us entirely. We always have to have that human in the loop. And just a brief clip talking about that idea of what it's basing its outputs on. schools?
It's really important that we're teaching people how to be critical consumers of technology at large. It's really, really important. And in particular, how to teach people what is the real nature of AI and the real nature of data. One of my favorite definitions of the word data is that it's an artifact of the human experience, right? We humans, we generate the data, or we make the machines that generate the data, but it's important to recognize we humans, we have over 180 biases and counting. So what's really interesting about AI is that it acts as a mirror that reflects our biases back towards us. But we have to be brave enough and introspective enough, to look into the mirror and decide, does this reflection actually align with my values, with my organization's values?
So with that in mind, let's move more to the why of why we use AI and what we need to be careful of and what principles can guide us into a good why for using AI. So with that, just a quick thought here, just to give a listen.
Post-pandemic, educators have noticed severe declines in students' ability to think critically and problem solve at the most basic levels. But now, with AI able to do the thinking for them, educators are awash in worry, not merely for their jobs, but for the development of their students. But as author and writing instructor John Warner points out, the reason the appearance of this tech is so shocking is because it forces us to confront what we value rather than letting the status quo churn along unexamined.
And that's going to be a critical thought as we think about ways that we use AI and that we ask our students to use AI. So as we think specifically as writing teachers or teachers of other subjects who are helping our students develop their writing in different academic domains, what do you value as you hope to teach students? And this is something you can pop in the chat again. As you hope to teach your students and engage them in writing instruction, what is it that you value about that process and want them to come away with when you're asking them to do a writing task? And Wanda's put that question in the chat for you to continue to ponder as we go throughout. And as we now start to talk about some principles that can help us, help guide us as we have students engaging with AI, we will kind of be able to keep coming to that question and think about making sure that we don't lose what we value and don't have AI doing those things for students, but rather supporting them. So with that, we're going to move forward and look at the first of our principles, and this is going to be overarching throughout the process of using AI, is that we're prompting AI, we're asking it to do things that can help support the student in their writing effort rather than replace their effort.
You can see it as climbing a hill. With today's advanced technology, we can ask the technology to carry us all the way up to the top. What I'm saying is that that might be a mistake. And there is another way. Because a remarkable thing about today's AI is that we can ask it to coach us, to guide us, helping us conquer that hill, but with our own effort.
And that subtle shift in how we prompt AI is why it's so important for us to be teaching our students how to engage with AI so that they come to it with that lens, because it is all too easy to ask the AI to replace the effort. We need to teach them why that's not a good idea and how it can be a helpful partner in the process still. So one way that we can think about that is I'm calling this the idea of playful prompting. In other words, how can we use AI as a scaffold that brings learning into that range of productive struggle? Use this as a little bit of background on that idea.
Now, if we look at the learning centers of the brain, they release endorphins with an inverted U shape with respect to familiarity. So things that are too familiar are boring. Things that are too unfamiliar are aversive. But things on the periphery of our knowledge that extend our capabilities are actually highly pleasurable. Not only are endorphins released, making learning enjoyable, but dopamine is also released, making learning highly addictive.
So as students enter into a writing task or a stage of writing, what are some things that we can ask the AI to do or teach them to ask the AI to do that brings it into that range of productive, not too hard, not too easy, but still pushing their boundaries and helping them grow? And then during the learning, AI is great for formative assessment help with, as a teacher, we can't always be there giving them the feedback all the time. Sometimes that AI can be a partner in contributing to, not replacing the teacher's feedback, but contributing to a feedback-rich environment.
The third simple strategy that will have a huge impact is training students to get feedback on their work from artificial intelligence. Feedback is crucial for anyone who's trying to learn anything, right? And it's a really clear advantage of a one-on-one tutor over a conventional class, isn't it? One-on-one tutoring, it just allows way more space and time for critique or course correction or encouragement. As a teacher in a conventional classroom for many years, I know there are going to be some days, maybe even some weeks or months, where students don't get that tailored, personalised feedback from us. We can train students so that instead of using AI to do their work for them, they can use it to help them with their work. So instead of saying, write my essay, please, they can say, well, here is my essay, can you please grade it? Please give me some feedback about logical coherence and structure and vocab. Now, if you're a teacher out there, it's worth saying this. This is not about replacing the teachers. Absolutely not. Teachers cannot be replaced. I always say to teachers whenever I'm speaking to them, AI is not here to take your job, it's here to help you do a better job. The fact of the matter is, our students need feedback. We're limited to being at one place, one time, and we can put students in that tailored, personalised, feedback-rich environment using AI.
But then sometimes we might want to guide students to really think about waiting till after they've done the majority of their work to engage with AI. There's a piece of valuing the originality of voice, and this talk here says it beautifully, better than I ever could, so I'm going to let him speak to this point.
What I would impress upon you is that using generative AI in this way for ideas to take your own place of what your ideas would have been takes a little bit away from you, where you lose a little bit of an opportunity to be your individual selves. Okay, so Anil, what are you saying? Maybe you're saying don't use generative AI. Again, maybe it's not that simple, again, because this tool is now pervasive. It is available to us, and we are tempted to use it in so many ways. And so what I would ask you to think about, one question I would ask you to think about when you're looking at some work you have to do or some task you have to undertake, one question you might ask yourself is this work I'm doing, is this task I'm about to do core to who I am, who I'm going to be, or the work that I will do?
And so when we think about that piece, thinking that our students, what's core to them right now is their learning experiences and their work towards various learning objectives. Beyond that, there's other things that are core to them in so many other ways. But in terms of our relationship with them as teachers and students and guiding them, we want to make sure that we're being very clear at any particular stage of the process. What is it that we really want them to focus on that we may not want them to use AI for at that particular moment, realizing that other parts might be valuable, there might be value in scaffolding other parts of the process so that they can really focus their work and their attention on that key objective of the moment. So with all these things in mind, with that framework of where it might be useful and why we might bring in AI, we're going to look at some different parts of the writing process and what this might look like to guide their prompting. So for instance, as they're brainstorming topics, we don't want it to replace the effort providing the topic right off the bat, but Perhaps you could have AI, have the student ask AI to explain unfamiliar terms in a topic list, bringing that up that curve that we saw to something that is more approachable to them. Or if the blank page is just too much of an intimidating factor, maybe just providing a top 10 list to start with, but they're still ultimately making the choice. During the effort, maybe here's the list of things I've thought of. Are there blind spots? Are there other topics that I might consider here? Here's the topic that I'm considering. Give me some reasons and a topic that might be a good other one to consider that I might not be thinking of. Challenge this idea here. Or here's two that I'm trying to decide between. Give me some pros and cons of going with this topic or that. After the effort, predicting the problems that they might encounter because of the choice that they've made of topic. What are some of the considerations as you start to write about this topic that you might want to keep in mind? For pre-writing, as they're getting the lay of the land on what they're about to write, we don't want AI to determine their format, their audience, their tone, their main ideas. But perhaps beforehand, they could just ask for a quick refresher on, I'm about to go into persuasive writing. Give me some style summary about things I need to consider in that kind of writing. Maybe during, here's what I'm starting to put into shape. What audiences might be interested in this, or given that this is the audience that I'm going to be writing to, what things might I want to consider? Or after they've really kind of grappled with what they're going to write, this wouldn't be something that they would prompt AI to do, but they wouldn't actually put this in because it would write their essay for them. But the practice of drafting a craft prompt is a great way of summarizing what it is they're about to do in their writing. Can they give the context? Can they give the role, their voice as an author, the audience that they're speaking to, the format that they're going to be writing in, and the text, the task and tone, what the purpose of the writing, what it's trying to accomplish, and the tone that they want to carry. So if they can identify those things, they've done a solid job of pre-writing, and it's using what we normally do with AI to bring that to the fore. For researching, again, we don't want it to provide a complete literature review, but maybe just looking at the reliability of resources, or a leveled explanation of key vocabulary that they might encounter as they're researching a topic that might be above their grade level or reading level. Confirming source reliability during the effort, or again, looking for those blind spots. Here's my list of sources I've consulted so far. Are there other places I might look? And then afterwards, maybe just putting in their Google Doc of research notes that they have and asking the AI to just summarize it to give them another look, a fresh look at their notes and what they've uncovered, perhaps in a more accessible format. When they're organizing to start writing, we don't want it to provide the outline for them, but maybe providing sample outlines if they've kind of forgotten some of the points of outlining, just suggesting some broad subtopics. Again, a little bit of scaffolding beforehand. During the effort, maybe looking at how the subtopics are covered. Like, is there a subtopic that's not covered as well as the others? If you give them give AI your outline and ask it to look for that. Or after you have your whole outline done, then maybe asking at that point AI to generate an outline so you can compare yours with the one that it provides. When you're doing your first drafts, maybe things like just providing some topic sentences or thesis statement suggestions, not writing the whole thing, but getting you started over that first hump, assuming that your main objective at that point, your main learning objective as a teacher isn't to have them write a good thesis statement. Or again, style reminders as you're about to write this informative text or this how-to text. Maybe as you're writing, giving it a paragraph that you've just worked on and asking it to critique, do my details support the main idea? Or as you're writing and you get that writer's block and you're stuck, okay, here's what I have, here's where I stopped, asking it to give you options for the next idea to come after this. or afterwards, once again, kind of that outline comparison idea, give it your first draft, have it generate a draft, and then compare the two. Again, the student has already put in the effort of their draft. We're not having AI compose their first draft for them, but using that as productive comparison. And then proofreading. I skipped over revising. Sorry about that. Before they start revising, maybe identifying the top 10 words that shape the tone of this passage, or can you, here's my draft. What are some biases or logic errors that you see in this draft? During, maybe you've identified some things that, and this is with revising, you're taking care of the big fixes, not the little proofreading things, but you see in a paragraph a different way that you want to say something, but you're not quite, you're not satisfied with it. Maybe asking AI to suggest some ways to rephrase, not doing it for you, but give you some ideas. Or an alternate placement for a sentence or paragraph if you're trying to move things around. After the efforts, asking it to look at, here's my first draft, here's my second draft, and you can attach, like in ChatGPT, you can attach different documents. Here was my purpose. Compare, did my revised draft become more effective at accomplishing my purpose? So that's another great way of that feedback-rich environment, and not doing the task of revising, but benefiting from what AI can do. And then finally, most common errors that it sees in a draft are common misspellings. If you know something doesn't sound right, but you're not quite sure of the rule, maybe you're prompting AI to, here's this sentence, remind me about this rule about possessive voice or so on. Or here's what I had, here's how I've corrected it, did this fix the mistake? And then afterwards, just a kind of another check. I've gone through and made the effort of proofreading, but do you still see grammar usage or spelling errors in this new draft that I have? So again, we're not having the AI produce a fully corrected draft. We're thinking critically about ways that it can assist and support rather than replace the effort. So with all those things in mind, we'll move into questions or comments. And this is where I'll ask my moderators and facilitators to be watching that chat. And you guys can let me know if you see anything good in there. Yeah. And I will invite people to unmute your mic too, if you'd like to.
Absolutely. What might, after Walt has taken us through that great presentation, what might you use some of these tips for in your role in Wake County?
I'm going to be taking these straight to our English teachers, because they've been focusing on the ethical use of AI with students all year, and they've been using a lot of stuff from Ditch That Textbook. Because they met to come up with their own guidelines, and his were so good, they said, why reinvent the wheel? But these specific, like comparing and looking for top 10 and what sets the tone, that's phenomenal. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
I don't know if this really answers your question or not, but the more I hear about it, the more I am able to concentrate on it. It just quiets my brain in a way that allows me to get more stuff done and to think more clearly about what I need to do and focus in on things. Because, I mean, my brain is like having a browser open with 150,000 tabs. And I'm constantly skipping between one thing and another. And to have it pull up and do all that research and all of that looking for background in seconds that I can then quickly read through instead of having to search on all the different tabs or try and figure out what the different viewpoints are. And then put it together and throw it into Magic School and have a presentation that I don't have to sit and spend, 8 hours to create, which I don't have. I mean, it just streamlines I mean, this is like year 32 for me. So I know how to do what I do, but I just have no time to do it. And yet I'm working every second of every day that I'm here. And so I don't feel like, when I use it now, I feel like I'm not behind the way, like I feel like I'm behind with everything else, which is a huge lift for me. It helps me feel like I'm being more effective and being able to do my job better.
And think about what that does for our students in the same lens that, our students are overwhelmed in a lot of ways too. I mean, they're living in this information age, so much coming at them. It's that moving along the curve where if we can take something that seems so overwhelming and teach them how to use it critically in a way that makes it approachable for them, that kind of, like you said, quiets your mind by helping you focus in on what you're trying to do in that moment. Without actually doing the work for them, that is so valuable. As you continue to think about questions and comments, I'll just throw in here, here were a few questions that we were prepared to discuss. So they may be things that can help guide your thinking as well as you move forward. But to make sure that we're respecting everyone's time, I will invite you to throw other questions in the chat, or if you want to, in your feedback, throw questions that your DLCs can get back to you on. I'm going to toss it over to Chris to wrap us up for the day.
So you want to continue the discussion. If you have questions, there's other ways that DLCs can support you, and you can find out who your DLC is if you're not sure by going to our website and getting their contact information. And we do have a form. We ask if you have time to fill that out to provide us feedback on the session and to also request possible DLC follow-up support. Thank you.
And I added the feedback form in the chat as well as the DLC contact page. If you're not sure who can come out to your school and help you, just go on the DLC contact page and it'll tell you the name of the schools and what region you're in. And in the feedback form, you also have an opportunity to, you can request to work with a DLC, or you can just give us your feedback of, do you like sessions like today that are throughout the day, half hour in chunk, and then are all recorded so that you can go back if you do not have time to jump on? Because we all know, people are teaching during the day, but we also have some breaks here and there during the day. So that you can put all that in the feedback form as well.
So thank you everyone for joining us, and please feel free to stick around for the next session. I do believe we have some more coming up, and thank you for joining us. Those of you who need to head out, we want to respect your time. It is 2:30, but we really enjoyed putting this together for you and hope that you found value in it.